Imagine a land sitting on an absolute gold mine of natural wealth, strategically overlooking the world's most vital oil routes, yet plagued by some of the deepest poverty on Earth. Welcome to Personally, I Think. Today's explainer is diving into the raw, unfiltered reality of Balochistan. To really grasp what's happening there today, especially the human rights issues on the ground and the intense geopolitical chess game happening above it, we have to look past the headlines and dig directly into the data.
Okay, here is our roadmap for this explainer. 1. The paradox of plenty. 2. Roots of Baloch identity. 3. CPEC and resource economics. 4. Security and human rights. And finally, 5. The geopolitical chessboard. Let's jump right in.
Section 1. The paradox of plenty. Let's look at the stark contrast between Balochistan's geographic size and its actual socioeconomic reality.
The sheer scale of this place is just hard to wrap your head around. Seriously, look at this. Balochistan makes up nearly half, literally 44% of Pakistan's entire landmass. It is geographically massive. Yet despite taking up almost half the map, it's incredibly sparse. It's home to just about 6% of the national population.
And that brings us to a devastating core paradox. Balochistan is insanely blessed by nature. We're talking 90% of Pakistan's copper, massive gold reserves in Chagai, the famous Sui natural gas fields, and over 1,600 active mining licenses. But, and this is a huge but, that immense wealth hasn't trickled down to the locals. The poverty rate sits at a staggering 70%. That's the highest in the country. They have the lowest GDP per capita and the highest maternal mortality rates. So how on earth does a land with such vast treasure suffer from such extreme poverty? Well, to figure that out, we gotta look back.
Section 2. Roots of Baloch identity. Because understanding this paradox means unpacking the deep-seated historical grievances driving today's unrest.
You see, the Baloch people share a really distinct ethnic and cultural identity. It actually formalized into a unified state way back in the mid-18th century under the Khanate of Kalat. But the geopolitical earthquake of 1947 changed everything. In 1948, the accession of the Kalat state into the newly created Pakistan was highly contested by Baloch nationalists, and that sparked the first wave of revolt. Then, in 1952, massive natural gas reserves were discovered in Sui. When locals felt the economic benefits were completely bypassing them, those grievances deepened big time. This cycle of tension has flared up periodically, leading directly to the highly coordinated insurgency that kicked off in 2004, and is still raging today.
And this history illustrates an absolutely crucial point. This conflict isn't just about money. It is deeply, deeply tied to cultural survival. The concept of Baloch Mayer, which is the traditional code of honor, and Balochness, underpins the entire ethno-nationalist movement. It's a collective consciousness built on shared memories, ancestry, and a profound, unbreakable attachment to their homeland.
Section 3. CPEC and resource economics. Let's see how these historical grievances collide with the modern economic megaprojects reshaping the region.
The specific economic friction points between the province and the federal government become crystal clear when you look at the numbers. Take Sui gas, for example. Balochistan contributes 15% to the national gas mix, but guess how much they use locally? Just 5%. In fact, many rural areas are still entirely off the grid. With the massive Reko Diq copper and gold mine, the province retains a 25% profit share. And then there's Gwadar port, the absolute crown jewel of the China-Pakistan economic corridor. Despite Gwadar sitting right inside Balochistan, the province's allocation within the overall CPEC portfolio is just 0.5%. Yeah, less than 1%.
Because of these stark numbers, two entirely conflicting realities have emerged. The state narrative pushes CPEC as a massive game-changer, promising new infrastructure, jobs, and claiming it'll turn Gwadar into a new Shenzhen. But the indigenous nationalist narrative views these megaprojects as straight-up resource extraction. They point to commercial deep-sea trawlers totally wiping out local fish stocks, strict security checkpoints restricting their traditional livelihoods, and deep existential fears of demographic displacement from a huge influx of outside workers.
And the financial stakes here, they are astronomical. $7 billion. That is just the commitment from Canada's Barrick Gold for the Reko Diq project alone. When you stack that on top of Chinese investments for CPEC, we're talking about tens of billions of dollars of international capital, and all of it relies entirely on the stability of this single, highly volatile province.
Section 4. Security and human rights. With so much money and history colliding, we have to look at the human cost and the intense security situation on the ground.
In recent years, the insurgency has escalated dramatically.
Militant groups like the Balochistan Liberation Army are systematically targeting economic assets. They regularly attack the Frontier Works Organization, building CPEC infrastructure, and they've even engaged in high-profile operations like hijacking passenger trains. Recently, they launched a highly coordinated campaign dubbed Operation Hero of Two. And what makes this new phase uniquely dangerous is a sudden technological upgrade. Insurgents have reportedly gained access to highly sophisticated, abandoned U.S. weaponry, like M4 and M16 rifles, left behind in Afghanistan after 2021.
But on the flip side of this security crisis is a truly devastating human rights toll. 468. According to a January 2024 report by the official State Commission of Inquiry, that is the number of missing persons in Balochistan whose whereabouts remain unknown. However, Baloch nationalist groups, led by organizations like the Baloch Yekjeti Committee, vehemently dispute this official figure. They lead massive protests, claiming that thousands of Baloch youth have been subjected to enforced disappearances and extrajudicial killings by the state. It is a deeply polarized and painful reality.
Which brings us to Section 5, the geopolitical chessboard. Because this internal conflict definitely doesn't happen in a vacuum, it has massive global stakes.
So we have to ask, who else is watching Balochistan? When you have a region that overlooks the super vital Strait of Hormuz, shares porous borders with Iran and Afghanistan, and serves as a direct corridor to the Arabian Sea, you better believe the world's regional superpowers are paying very, very close attention.
The two biggest players watching this unfold are China and India, and their strategic goals are fundamentally opposed. China is deeply invested. They desperately need to secure CPEC and maintain access to Gwadar port. It's a flagship of their Belt and Road initiative that drastically shortens their oil trade routes. India, conversely, views Gwadar as a strategic encirclement. For New Delhi, monitoring the Arabian Sea and counterbalancing the combined influence of Pakistan and China makes the internal stability, or instability, of Balochistan a critical piece of their own national security puzzle.
And we are already seeing regional spillover. The insurgency threatens broader South Asian stability. Just look at the intense border conflict between Afghanistan and Pakistan in October 2025, which was fueled heavily by cross-border militancy. Furthermore, the Baloch ethnic group extends directly into Iran's strategic Sistan Balochistan province. Unrest in Pakistan can seamlessly trigger security concerns right across the Iranian border. In this region, a spark in one province can easily start a huge fire next door.
Which leaves us with this final, really provocative thought. Can global economic megaprojects truly succeed without local consensus? I mean, pouring billions into a region without addressing deep historical grievances, demographic fears, and a stark paradox of poverty amidst incredible plenty, it just seems to pour gasoline on the fire. Until indigenous perspectives and global economic ambitions find a way to coexist, Balochistan is going to remain a volatile chessboard. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer on Personally I Think, and I'll catch you in the next one.